When you hear the name 50 Cent, what comes to mind? The iconic beats of In Da Club? Or maybe the fierce attitude that marked him as one of the most fearless figures in hip-hop?
Bro, I'm a your life up.
Get ready to explore the remarkable journey of Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, a rapper who not only topped the music charts, but also conquered the television industry.
Welcome back to BuzzBuster, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad you're here. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss daily videos. By the time Curtis Jackson reached 50, his legacy was no longer just about hit records and fame. Sitting alongside the music is a much heavier story, one filled with legal fights, fractured relationships, and lasting wounds you can't always see. The artist known as 50 Cent didn't just build a career. He built it while carrying the weight of incidents, betrayals, and personal battles that followed him far beyond the charts. Long before the business disputes and public feuds, one moment changed everything. On May 24, 2000, in South Jamaica, Queens, Jackson was near his grandmother's former home when he became the target of a shocking attack.
The car pulled up on the side of us. The guy got out the passenger seat of that car, came around behind it, and shot through the actual car.
Earlier that day, after getting into a friend's car, he was told to head back inside to retrieve some jewelry. At the house, his young son was there, and his grandmother was out in the front yard. Once he returned to the vehicle, the situation shifted in an instant. A second car pulled up nearby. From there, a gunman approached and opened fire at close range with a 9mm handgun. Jackson was only 24 years old. The damage was severe. He was hit in the hand, the arm, the hip, both legs, the chest, and the left cheek. Those injuries left a permanent mark on more than just his body. The wound to his face caused his tongue to swell, led to the loss of a wisdom tooth, and changed the way he spoke. What could have been seen only as trauma eventually became part of the voice the world would instantly recognize.
I forget, why did the guy shoot you 9 times? Was it drugs or something?
He was paid to do it.
He was paid to do it?
Yeah.
Who would want to shoot you?
Why were you targeted?
You're such a good guy.
This is my past.
It was a drug thing?
No,
like a
just
business thing?
It's karma.
That slight slur, born from a life-altering incident, later turned into one of the most unmistakable sounds in rap music. It became a signature, something listeners could identify within seconds. In a strange and powerful twist, one of the darkest moments of Curtis Jackson's life helped shape the voice that would define 50 Cent as an artist. Yet that moment also set the tone for the years that followed. Survival became part of his image, but it was also a reality he had already lived through. From there, his story was never simply about success. It was about what happened after the spotlight found someone who had already seen how quickly everything could change. Music was playing when everything changed. Jackson was rushed to the hospital, where he remained for 13 days while doctors worked to stabilize him. In the weeks that followed, another shocking development unfolded. The suspected shooter, Darryl Homicide Baum, a close associate and bodyguard of Mike Tyson, was killed just 3 weeks later.
Did you ever find out who did it?
Yeah, I knew who did it shortly after.
Yeah. And they are now where?
Well, the guy who actually shot me is dead. The guy who paid him got life in jail.
Got life in jail.
Rumors quickly spread about who may have been behind the attack. Many believe the order came from Kenneth Supreme McGriff, the imprisoned Queens drug kingpin. But the case has never been officially solved. Even now, the incident remains one of the most talked about mysteries in hip-hop history. Jackson later reflected on that moment in his autobiography, From Pieces to Weight, with a perspective that was both personal and haunting. Surviving 9 close-range gunshots, he said, forced him to see life differently. He began to believe there had to be a larger reason he was still alive. In his view, just a tiny shift in any direction could have changed everything. 1 inch one way or another, and his story might have ended there. Recovery was long and difficult. For 6 weeks, he relied on a walker just to get around. It took 5 full months before he was physically back to normal.
You were shot in the face, too.
Yeah, right here on the side. It's a little dimple.
I don't even see a scar.
What kind of gun was this?
Yeah, what kind of gun?
A 9mm. You can see the
Oh, yeah, look
Inside?
at that. Yeah, look at that. Man, imagine getting shot in the head and living.
After being released from the hospital, he withdrew from the spotlight and stayed in the Poconos with his girlfriend and son. During that time, he focused intensely on training, and that discipline helped him build the muscular image that would later become part of his identity. What remained after the attack was more than physical. The scars told their own story. His voice carried new weight. Every part of his presence now felt tied to survival, struggle, and proof that he had made it through something almost impossible. Before all of this, Jackson had already secured a publishing deal with Columbia Records. Yet his relationship with the industry soon fell apart. He was dropped by the label and effectively shut out of the business because of his track, Ghetto Quran. The song was controversial because it referenced real people and real street figures by name, and that decision would have major consequences for his career. By mentioning Pappy Mason and other names tied to Queens' street underworld, the song drew dangerous attention to Jackson. Many accounts point to a serious dispute with Kenneth Supreme McGriff as the central reason 50 Cent was later shot 9 times.
I actually thought I wanted a problem. No, I don't think I don't ever want a problem. But when they said they wanted a problem, I said no problem.
Before music became his full-time path, 50 Cent had real connections to Queens street life, and the attack was widely viewed as linked to tensions from that world. After the shooting, everything stalled. Calls from record labels dried up almost overnight. A promising new artist suddenly found himself recovering from severe injuries while also facing a brutal reality. The music business no longer seemed interested. At the exact moment he should have been building momentum, the industry appeared to shut the door. Instead of disappearing, he changed the way he moved. With the usual label system no longer working for him, Jackson had to find another route to listeners. He couldn't rely on radio, major promotion, or the traditional machines that normally turned rappers into stars. Survival meant becoming creative, strategic, and relentless. What he did next became one of the smartest pivots in hip-hop history. In an interview, Jackson explained that he had to beat the system by working around it. Rather than waiting for a company to back him, he found a way to make the streets do the promotion. He said he needed to fool bootleggers into wanting his music so they would copy it, spread it, and put it everywhere for him. Since there were no real outlets willing to push his work, he turned unofficial distribution into an advantage.
That gamble worked. His mixtape started circulating everywhere, building buzz block by block and neighborhood by neighborhood. The streets became his marketing team. Every copy passed from hand to hand expanded his reputation, and his name kept getting louder. Momentum returned, but this time it wasn't coming from executives and offices. It was coming directly from the people. Then came the turning point. In 2002, his mixtape, Guess Who's Back, landed in the hands of Detroit rap superstar Eminem.
My manager gave me a copy of Guess Who's Back. And within the first couple of songs, I was like, yo, he's back.
No more freestyles and verses killing. That discovery changed the course of 50 Cent's career. After being counted out, ignored, and pushed aside, he had finally created so much demand that one of the biggest names in music could not overlook him. Eminem signed him, and from there, the comeback became impossible to stop. Jackson signed with Shady Records, operating under Interscope Records, and that move changed everything. Soon after, his first studio album, Get Rich or Die Trying, arrived and exploded with both critics and the public. The record connected immediately, but its title carried far more weight than a catchy phrase. For Curtis Jackson, those words reflected real life. This was someone who had come dangerously close to losing everything long before fame fully arrived. Earning money, as it turned out, would not be his greatest obstacle. The harder pedal was holding the rest of his life together. His peace of mind, his health, his finances, and his role as a father. That is where the deeper story of Curtis Jackson starts to become more complicated. By 2007, he was no longer known only as a rapper. His name had grown into a much bigger brand. Music remained a major source of income, but it was only one part of the picture. Major endorsement deals added to his rise, and smart business decisions began setting him apart from many of his peers. One of the biggest examples was his investment in vitamin water. When Coca-Cola acquired Glacéau in 2007, that deal reportedly brought Jackson somewhere between $60 million and $100 million after taxes.
Okay, now how did you become interested in vitamin water?
I was in a supermarket and I saw a gallon of water for $2.89. And I went further down the aisle and I saw another gallon of spring water for 59 cents. I want to sell water. And he was like, hey, what?
You made $100 million?
Well, $4.1 billion they actually sold the company for.
The payout dramatically increased his wealth and shifted him into a financial tier that most artists in hip-hop never reach. One business move, done at the right time, changed the scale of his fortune almost overnight. At the height of that success, before his 2015 bankruptcy filing, 50 Cent's net worth was estimated at roughly $150 million. That kind of money came with all the signs of extraordinary success, including a massive mansion in Connecticut. On the surface, it looked like the ultimate victory story. The artist who beat impossible odds, built an empire, and reached a level of wealth few could imagine. Yet enormous wealth does not guarantee stability. Behind the headlines, the pressure of maintaining that level of success was becoming part of the larger story. The rise was undeniable. The business wins were real, and the money was staggering. Still, the same life that had once been defined by survival was now facing a different kind of test: how to preserve everything once it had finally been gained. Once owned by Mike Tyson, the estate stretched across beautifully maintained grounds and came loaded with every symbol of excess imaginable: a private nightclub, an indoor swimming pool, even a helipad. Tyson initially listed the property in 2007 for $18.5 million. But after years of price cuts and repeated returns to the market over the next 5 years, the mansion became a striking reminder of how quickly enormous wealth can unravel.
I've been a billionaire since 2007. Yeah, I'm not far from where I came from.
Yeah.
That I've been a billionaire.
That's crazy.
Financially, because everybody around me is being paid.
Curtis Jackson seemed to represent the opposite story. Known not only as a rapper, but also as an actor, television producer, and entrepreneur, he built a brand that reached far beyond music. His name showed up in one industry after another. There were luxury spirits, fashion lines, video games, publishing projects, consumer electronics, boxing promotions, and nutritional products. For a time, he appeared impossible to miss. His business presence was everywhere. G-Unit Clothing helped turn his image into a retail brand. Sleek by 50 Cent pushed him into the headphone market. Boxing promotion partnerships added another layer to his growing empire. A vitamin-enhanced water brand helped elevate his reputation far beyond entertainment, making him just as recognizable in corporate circles as he was in nightlife culture. From the outside, it looked like a powerful machine built to last. Beneath that polished surface, though, serious financial strain had already begun to take hold. Court filings later pointed to a troubling mix of poor financial management, mounting legal issues, and total liabilities of roughly $36 million. A major part of the damage came from expensive litigation. One failed business effort involving a headphone company led to a lawsuit that cost him more than $17 million. That setback alone was devastating, but it was not the only pressure point. His spending habits were also difficult to ignore, with monthly expenses reported at $108,000. Even for someone with a huge public profile, that level of outflow created a dangerous imbalance. The warning signs had been building for a while, but the turning point arrived in the summer of 2015. On July 13th of that year, he took the step that confirmed just how serious the situation had become. He filed for chapter bankruptcy protection in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the District of Connecticut, reporting debts totaling $32,509,549.91.
You declared bankruptcy, you said you're out of money, and then you irritated the judge in the case because you started posting all these pictures of you that seemed to indicate that you have a ton of money. You put up this picture right here of you eating a money sandwich. Yeah. You put this picture up of you opening your fridge and just finding money inside.
That filing alone was startling, but what followed made the picture even more dramatic. On July 17th, the court approved an order that allowed a creditor to move forward with the punitive damages portion of a New York State court case tied to the alleged release of a private video.
His financial disclosures only deepened the mystery. In the bankruptcy paperwork, his assets were estimated somewhere between $10 million and $50 million. Yet under oath, he stated that his net worth was $4.4 million. Pause on that for a moment. The gap between those numbers was impossible to ignore, especially for someone who had once been associated with an estimated fortune of $150 million. The drop was staggering. A business move that once looked like a major win in the headphone world had unraveled. At the same time, the mansion was becoming a costly burden, pulling money out faster than it could reasonably be sustained. Lawsuits were adding even more pressure, with legal expenses stacking up from several different directions and steadily eating into what was left. Court records laid out the main reason behind the bankruptcy filing with brutal clarity. According to his attorneys, legal fees and court judgments topping $20 million over the previous year were the central force that pushed everything to this point. It was not one bad decision or a single setback. Instead, it was a growing pile of financial hits that eventually became impossible to contain. What made the moment even more striking was the contrast with the image he had spent years building. This was the same artist who named his debut album Get Rich or Die Trying. This was also the same businessman who had made a smart early investment in vitamin water and transformed that success into the kind of wealth most people only imagine. Now the story looked completely different. The fortune that once seemed untouchable had been weakened by mounting costs, legal trouble, and expensive obligations closing in from every side. For someone who had built his name around success, ambition, and turning hustle into empire, standing in federal court and declaring insolvency was a stunning reversal. Legal battles, heavy spending, and a series of poor business decisions pushed him into one of the hardest chapters of his life.
With all this success, 50 had to file for Chapter 11 in 2015 with over $36 million in debt and only $20 million in assets. If we fast forward to 2021, a judge discharged 50's bankruptcy as he paid down the millions he owed early with his own money.
Still, 50 Cent didn't stay down for long. He rebuilt. By 2025, his estimated net worth sits around $60 million, a striking sign of how far he managed to recover after major financial setbacks. Much of that rebound came from smart moves outside of music. Real estate played a role. Beverage investments, including Branson Cognac, added another lane of income. His work in boxing promotion, along with 2 film production companies, helped strengthen that comeback even further. Step by step, deal by deal, Curtis Jackson turned a financial collapse into a second act. Yet money problems leave a different kind of mark. Financial hardship doesn't disappear the way old street stories sometimes do. It stays behind in legal records, in damaged credit, and in the careful hesitation of future business partners who remember exactly what happened. Those consequences don't simply vanish once the headlines fade. For Jackson, the fallout was never limited to business. There was another kind of pain in his life, one that no doctor, lawyer, or career revival could fix. The unraveling of 50 Cent's relationship with his oldest son became one of the most personal and heartbreaking parts of his story. When Marquise was born, Jackson said everything shifted. Fatherhood gave him a new sense of purpose. He once explained that his son changed the way he looked at life because he wanted to build the kind of bond with him that he never had with his own father. In his eyes, Marquise was more than family. He was inspiration. He was one of the driving forces behind Jackson's determination to choose a different path and push his career forward. That is what makes everything that came later feel so tragic. What began as a life-changing connection, one that seemed to represent hope, growth, and a break from the past, eventually turned into something far more painful. For a man who survived public setbacks, financial ruin, and years of scrutiny, this was a loss of a very different kind. Marquise Jackson was born on October 13, 1996, to 50 Cent and his then-girlfriend Shaniqua Tompkins. Like his father, he stepped into music and acting, yet the bond between them has been broken for more than 10 years. To understand how things reached that point, you have to look at 50 Cent's early life. Born Curtis Jackson III, he came into the world surrounded by hardship, and those experiences shaped the relentless drive that later defined him.
I grew up with my grandparents. You know, 'cause my mom, she got killed when I was 8 years old. I had to live with them full time, and I went and stayed with them, and it was like we was living on my grandfather's income.
He was raised in South Jamaica, Queens, during the 1980s when the crack cocaine epidemic was devastating neighborhoods across the city. His mother, Sabrina, was only 15 when she had him. Not long after, she became involved in drug dealing. Because she was often away, much of his upbringing fell to his grandparents. Even with their presence, there was no real escape from the poverty and danger that surrounded him every day. The streets around him were harsh, and that reality became part of his childhood. Everything changed when he was just 8 years old. His mother died in a drug-related killing, a loss that left a permanent mark on him. From that moment on, the world looked different. The pain, instability, and absence he carried became part of the reason he pushed so hard to build another life for himself. Music became more than a talent or a dream. It became a path away from the circumstances that had already taken so much from him. One of the most painful parts of his story is that he never knew his father. Growing up without either parent created wounds that ran deep, and for a time, it seemed to fuel a promise he made to himself. After losing his mother so young, he reportedly vowed that things would be different with his own son, Marquise. He wanted to end that cycle of distance and absence. Yet success did not bring the peace that promise seemed to hold. As his fame and fortune grew, new complications followed. His split from Shaniqua Tompkins turned difficult, and the situation eventually became a bitter custody battle. What may have started as a hope to give Marquise a better life slowly turned into one of the most talked about family rifts surrounding 50 Cent.
Since then, the relationship between 50 Cent and Marquise has been marked by tension, conflict, and years of estrangement. For years, the conflict between Jackson and Tompkins unfolded in full public view, growing more bitter as time went on. At the center of it all was Marquise, born on October 13, 1997, to 50 Cent and Shaniqua Tompkins. Everything shifted in 2008 when 50 Cent and Tompkins separated. Their breakup didn't stay private for long, and Marquise, just 11 years old at the time, became caught in a prolonged custody dispute.
This is unbelievable. 50 Cent was paying his baby mama a whopping $500,000 a year in child support. That breaks down to $40,000 every single month. Yet, she had the audacity to claim, "This just isn't enough for me." So, 50 decided to teach her how the game is really played. He took the matter to family court himself. That's right, you heard me. He willingly went to court. And guess what the judge ruled? He only has to pay her $6,700.
What should have been a family matter quickly turned into a very public and deeply personal battle. Speaking to MTV, 50 Cent suggested that his bond with Marquise had changed because of the fallout with Marquise's mother. He framed the situation in blunt terms, saying the connection between his finances and Tompkins had changed. He also claimed that adjusting to life without his money had been difficult for her because of what he described as costly habits. On top of that, he said she had made hurtful statements about him that he never expected to hear. As the years passed, the tension between father and son only seemed to grow. What began as fallout from a split slowly turned into something much larger, with resentment playing out through headlines, interviews, and social media. By 2018, the strain had reached another shocking moment. Marquise appeared in an Instagram photo alongside Kenneth Supreme McGriff, a man widely viewed as one of 50 Cent's longtime rivals. The image immediately drew attention because of McGriff's history and what his name represented in relation to 50 Cent's past. 50 Cent's response was explosive. In the comments, he wrote that if both of them were hit by a bus, he wouldn't have a bad day. The remark stunned many people, not only because it was aimed at his own son, but because of who was standing beside him in the photo. Kenneth McGriff had long been linked by investigators to the 2000 plot targeting 50 Cent. That history made the image even more loaded. For many observers, it wasn't just a picture. It looked like a painful symbol of how far this family divide had gone. Imagine the weight of that moment. A father seeing his son pose with a man believed to have played a role in one of the darkest chapters of his life. By then, this was no longer just a custody issue or a disagreement between exes. It had turned into a deeply fractured relationship, one the public could watch unravel in real time. The rift between the two didn't appear overnight. It traces back to 2008 when Jackson and Tompkins split, and from that point on, the father-son bond seemed to unravel in public. Over the years, their conflict has spilled onto social media again and again. One of the most talked about moments came in 2020 when Jackson posted a remark saying he once loved his son. That single line reignited years of tension and reminded everyone just how damaged the relationship had become. Marquise also brought the family dispute into the spotlight. In one Instagram post, he said he was willing to give his father $6,700 in exchange for just one day together, 24 hours to do all the things he felt he missed out on growing up. The number wasn't chosen for drama alone. It matched the exact monthly child support payment Jackson had been ordered to make at that time, turning the post into a sharp and very public message.
You're talking about a kid that's not even a kid. He's 25 years old. You know what my issue was at 16? They wanted to charge me as an adult then. You see what I'm saying? So you look and you go, when you gonna figure it out? Now, I don't think the relationship works. Look, for a long time, telling me I went running behind him. I went places that he went, and he left the place. He's a hookah boy. You see what I'm saying? So while he's there, go order a hookah, watermelon hookah, and you see him when go get it.
Jackson, then 47, responded in a caption that many saw as cold and deeply revealing. He wrote, "Excuse me if I seem a little insensitive at times. I'm different. I came up a little harder than these guys. I make no excuses. I never met my father, and my mother got killed when I was 8. Those words carried much more weight than a typical celebrity post. Here was a man shaped by abandonment, loss, and trauma, someone who had spoken before about wanting to be better than the example he was given. He never knew his own father. He lost his mother to violence at just 8 years old. The expectation, at least from the outside, was that pain like that would push someone to break the pattern. Instead, the situation became something painfully public. The image was hard to ignore. A man who had promised himself he would be different, yet ended up locked in a bitter, highly visible feud with his own son for the world to watch in real time. What could have remained a private family wound was now unfolding on Instagram, post by post, caption by caption. That's what made the fallout feel bigger than celebrity gossip. It wasn't just an argument. It looked like a cycle repeating itself in front of millions, the very cycle he once seemed determined to end, now fractured beyond recognition in the most public way possible. Some pain never fades, and for Curtis Jackson, the legal drama seems to keep circling back without pause. One courtroom clash ends and another quickly takes its place. Few of those disputes have been as tense as the latest fight tied to the woman long associated with one of the most personal breaks in his life, Shaniqua Tompkins. In 2025, 50 Cent and G-Unit Books accused Tompkins of violating a life rights agreement they say was put in place years earlier. According to the lawsuit filed that same year, the dispute centers on a contract allegedly signed in 2007, right as the rapper was at the height of his career. That agreement reportedly gave G-Unit Books sweeping, exclusive, and permanent rights to use Tompkins' life story, along with her name and likeness, for a proposed book project. Put simply, the claim suggests she gave away control over how her story could be told.
G-Unit Books says Tompkins received $80,000 in 2007 in exchange for those rights, with the possibility of royalties to follow. Tompkins strongly disagrees with that version of events. She maintains that the payment was only $35,000, not $80,000. And she argues that the publisher failed to carry out key parts of the deal. That disagreement became even more serious once Tompkins began publicly discussing her relationship with 50 Cent. As her comments appeared in interviews and across social media, the conflict moved from private tension to legal confrontation. At that point, attorneys for G-Unit Books stepped in, arguing that those public statements crossed a line set by the original agreement. What makes this battle especially striking is the history behind it. This is not just a business disagreement over paperwork or publishing rights. It touches on fame, personal history, and the question of who gets to control a story once money and contracts enter the picture.
I really, really enjoy looking at attractive women. Like, I want to see every version of an attractive woman, you know, height, short, tall, long, skinny, big girl, smoker, all pretty stuff.
On one side, there is the claim that a legally binding agreement gave G-Unit Books full authority over Tompkins' narrative. On the other, Tompkins argues the payment amount has been misrepresented and that the company itself did not uphold its end of the arrangement. As a result, the case has become more than a contract dispute. It has turned into a fierce battle over voice, ownership, and whether a past agreement can still silence someone years later. For Curtis Jackson, it is yet another chapter in a legal saga that refuses to fade quietly. Court documents say Tompkins reduced the deal's value by speaking publicly about her past with 50 Cent in interviews and across social media. According to those earlier filings, the company argued that she undercut the proposed book by disclosing private information that was supposed to be saved for the publication alone. Everything escalated in January 2026. That's when Shaniqua Tompkins filed an affidavit that dramatically shifted the case and sparked intense reaction after the lawsuit had first been filed the year before. In that sworn statement, she said she was pressured into signing the life rights agreement. Her filing claimed she agreed to it while afraid for her own safety and the safety of her children. She went even further, stating plainly that the signature was given under extreme duress. Tompkins described a moment in Las Vegas that became one of the most explosive parts of her response. She said 50 Cent's late manager, Chris Lighty, arrived at her hotel room accompanied by a man she believed was acting as a bodyguard. According to her affidavit, the visit was intimidating and left her feeling she had no real choice. Her filing included a direct claim about what she says was said during that encounter. She alleged that Mr. Lighty told her she would face serious consequences if she refused to sign the agreement. That accusation immediately raised the stakes of the legal fight and pulled even more attention to the dispute. From there, the affidavit introduced additional allegations about the relationship itself. Tompkins claimed that 50 had been abusive during their time together. She also alleged that he assaulted her while she was pregnant. Those statements added a deeply personal and highly sensitive layer to a case that had already centered on contracts, privacy, and the value of a book project. The conflict was no longer just about publishing rights. It had turned into a fierce battle over consent, pressure, and what really happened behind the scenes. 50 Cent has strongly denied the claims and pushed back forcefully. As the case continued, Tompkins sought to challenge the agreement at the center of the dispute, arguing that the circumstances surrounding its signing should not be ignored. With both sides digging in, the legal showdown became even more dramatic as accusations about private events collided with a high-profile fight over ownership, control, and credibility. 50 Cent is pushing back hard against what he says are provocative and damaging claims being dragged into the case. In court filings, he argued that the accusations point to alleged incidents from many years ago and have nothing to do with the actual legal questions at the center of the lawsuit. From his side, the dispute is being presented as a straightforward business conflict tied to contract terms, not a deeply personal battle. His attorneys appear focused on keeping the case narrow and centered on whether specific obligations were met rather than allowing it to expand into unrelated allegations. Earlier in the case, 50 Cent and G-Unit Books sought a default judgment in December 2025. Their request came after Tompkins did not file a response to the lawsuit, which is seeking at least $1 million in damages. For a moment, that move suggested the case could tilt sharply in their favor without much resistance. That changed in March 2026, when a New York court put that effort on hold Instead of allowing the default judgment to move forward, the judge gave Tompkins 20 days to answer the complaint. A preliminary virtual conference has now been set for May 5, 2026, setting the stage for the next chapter in this legal fight. This case is only one part of a much larger pattern of courtroom battles involving Jackson over the years. Beyond the dispute with Tompkins, he has also been tied up in a separate right of publicity case connected to the horror film Skill House. At the center of that matter is Jackson's effort to block the use of his image and likeness in the upcoming movie. According to the legal argument from his attorney, the project includes a short appearance from him, and that brief inclusion could negatively affect his well-being.
In 2009, Shaniqua Tompkins, the mother of 50 Cent's son, Marquise Jackson, sued the rapper for $50 million. Tompkins claimed that 50 Cent, whose real name is Curtis Jackson, had promised to take care of her for life. The lawsuit alleged breach of contract and unjust enrichment.
Taken together, these cases show how Jackson continues to face legal pressure from multiple directions at once. One dispute focuses on publishing and alleged contractual issues, while another turns on how his identity may be used in entertainment. Even though the details are very different, both matters highlight the same high-stakes reality. When business, branding, and public image collide, the fallout can quickly move from private negotiations into a very public courtroom battle. For years, 50 Cent built an image that looked polished, controlled, and hard-earned within the entertainment world. Even with that carefully protected reputation, legal trouble has continued to circle around him. One of the more recent claims comes from a photographer in Los Angeles. Guadalupe de los Santos alleges that 50 Cent struck him with a car door. Court records say de los Santos went to the Grove on September 11, 2024, where 50 Cent was scheduled to appear for a Barnes & Noble signing. That accusation is now part of the growing list of disputes attached to the rapper's name. This was not the first courtroom battle to cast a long shadow over his career. A sex tape lawsuit played a major role in the financial collapse that eventually led to his bankruptcy filing. Beyond that, there have been business clashes, disputes over branding, and endorsement-related controversies. One case after another pulled at his money, his time, and his focus. What makes it all stand out is the contrast. Here was a man who built his empire through relentless drive, sharp instincts, and a reputation for surviving anything. Yet over time, the courtroom started to feel less like an occasional stop and more like a permanent backdrop. Legal conflict became a recurring chapter in a life that once seemed defined by unstoppable momentum. Still, there is another side to the story, and it may be the most obvious one of all, even if people do not always treat it as seriously. Curtis Jackson has also turned himself into one of the most active and relentless trolls celebrity social media has ever seen. His online presence is impossible to ignore. The tone of his Instagram page often feels less like promotion and more like a running campaign. Post after post carries the energy of confrontation, commentary, and calculated provocation. It is not just a celebrity account. It reads like a public record of ongoing feuds, personal shots, and carefully aimed jabs. That digital persona has become its own kind of spectacle. While the lawsuits reveal one version of 50 Cent, the social media behavior reveals another. A figure who seems to thrive on conflict, whether it unfolds in business, in public, or online. Taken together, those two worlds paint a more complicated picture of 50 Cent at 50, one shaped not only by success and resilience, but by constant battles that never seem to fully end. He's built a reputation for turning ridicule into strategy, using jokes, memes, and public taunts to put pressure on rivals and stay in control of the narrative. That pattern sparked fresh backlash when Benzino was hospitalized with major injuries after a photo began circulating online showing the former magazine executive on a stretcher in a neck brace. 50 Cent shared the image himself and added a brief caption, LOL, followed by laughing emojis. The reaction was immediate, but not everyone found it funny. Plenty of people saw the post as cruel rather than clever. One commenter argued that 50 Cent's behavior reflected someone who was deeply unhappy and lashing out. Another offered a warning, saying that no one moves through life untouched by hardship, and that eventually everyone faces difficult moments of their own. Instead of applause, the post triggered a wider conversation about where online trolling crosses the line.
From there, the focus shifts to one of the longest-running and most talked-about rivalries tied to 50 Cent, his conflict with Diddy. Although they've worked together at different points in the past, their relationship eventually deteriorated into a feud that has stretched across decades. Over the years, it has included business disputes, diss records, persistent accusations, explosive rumors, and a steady stream of viral jabs traded in public. More recently, that tension took on a new shape through a documentary project connected to Diddy's legal controversy. On December 7, 2023, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson announced that he was developing a docuseries centered on Sean Combs. He made it clear that the series would address the legal troubles surrounding Combs and said that profits from the project would be directed toward people connected to the sexual misconduct allegations. That announcement instantly added another layer to an already complicated history.
He has a baby by a woman that was dating Tupac. He chooses to date people who he knows previously dated someone.
This is a lot of the personal footage of Diddy. It shocked a lot of people.
What had once been a rivalry fueled by music, ego, and industry power now appeared to be moving into the documentary space, where public opinion can shift even faster. For critics, it raised questions about motive and timing. For supporters, it looked like another example of 50 Cent doing what he's always done best: grabbing attention, steering the conversation, and making sure his name stays at the center of it. Everything led to Combs. The end result was a 4-part documentary titled Sean Combs: The Reckoning, which debuted on Netflix on December 2, 2025. Viewers rushed to it immediately. Within just 6 days, the series pulled in 21.8 million views, making it the platform's second most watched title during that stretch. Momentum only kept building. In the week of December 1st through 8th, 2025, the documentary dominated Netflix's rankings and earned strong critical praise, including a 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It quickly became one of those releases people felt they had to talk about, whether they admired it, questioned it, or simply couldn't look away. When Jackson was asked whether the project came from a place of pettiness, he didn't dodge the accusation. Instead, he embraced it. In an interview with Gold Derby published May 9th, he made it clear he was comfortable with that perception. He said he would accept the label, wear it openly, and move forward without apology. For Jackson, that kind of public image no longer seemed like something to fight. It was something he had already learned to live with.
Still, not everyone found the tone amusing. On social media, actor Marlon Wayans issued a public warning, telling Jackson to think carefully about karma. His message suggested that continuing to mock someone already sitting behind bars might eventually bring consequences of its own. At the center of all of this is a rivalry that has never really cooled down. The conflict between 50 Cent and Diddy is not some passing celebrity disagreement. It is deeply personal, and it has stayed that way for years. Jackson has long crafted an image around being untouchable, the person who absorbs every blow and keeps moving. He presents himself as the survivor, the one who stays standing while everyone else falls apart. More than that, he has built a reputation as the man who laughs in moments when others would break. That attitude has become part of his identity, part shield and part performance. Yet as time has passed, that laughter has only grown sharper, even while the damage around him has become harder to ignore. The picture is no longer just about jokes, jabs, or old grudges. Now it includes distance from his son, financial collapse, and a growing list of troubles that refuse to stay in the background. What once looked like confidence can, from another angle, feel like defiance pushed to its limit. Lawsuits keep piling up. One woman claims she was pressured into giving away the rights to her own life story. At the same time, he has taken shots at opponents even while they were recovering in hospital rooms. Those moments reveal a side of the story that fame usually tries to hide. During a 2020 interview, Jackson spoke openly about what happened with his son. His words were simple, but they carried weight. He said it was heartbreaking, a genuinely painful situation. More importantly, he reflected on something larger than just one family conflict. He explained that when people ask for success, they rarely think about the hidden costs attached to it. That thought may explain everything. Curtis Jackson wanted victory, status, power, and a way out. He reached the top. He fell.
He climbed back again. Yet between those dramatic rises and devastating setbacks, other losses kept building in silence. Some things cannot be restored with money, influence, or public bravado. Some damage does not disappear because the world sees you as untouchable. A mother gone, a father absent, a strained bond with a son, a body marked by pain, years shaped by legal battles and public feuds. Piece by piece, those losses seem to have taken something from him that success could never replace. His survival story is undeniable. He lived through being shot 9 times. He endured financial collapse. He made it through the streets, the music business, corporate battles, and every high-profile conflict that came his way. Time after time, he found a way to outlast what should have destroyed him. Still, making it through is not the same as being complete. That is the part people often miss when they look at a figure like 50 Cent. They see the fortune, the fame, the business empire, the social media presence, the sharp wit, and the ability to stay relevant year after year. From the outside, it can look like total control. It can look like a man who won every round that mattered. The deeper truth feels far less glamorous. At 50, Curtis Jackson has more wealth than most people will ever touch. He has achieved a level of celebrity that countless artists spend their lives chasing. Yet for all the money, all the headlines, and all the millions watching his every move, there is still a sense that something essential remains missing. Surrounded by attention, he can still seem deeply alone. Some pain is almost impossible to describe. The artist who famously declared he would get rich or die trying survived that gamble. Wealth came, no question, yet the relentless pursuit of it appears to have taken nearly everything else from him, leaving success looking far more complicated than it once seemed.